Okay, area of circles. So the first thing to know is the formula for the area of a circle, right? That's this right here, A equals pi r squared. The area is just finding how much space the circle takes up, right? So like all this blue space in here, that's the area of the circle. We're trying to figure out how much space that takes up. Okay? Some key words here that you might see. Diameter is all the way across the middle of a circle through the center point, and radius is from the center of the circle to the outside edge. Okay? When we do any problems that involve a formula, we want to follow these 3 steps. So the first thing is you want to write the formula out, like on your page. Step 2, you sub in your numbers. Step 3, you solve with a label. Area that we're doing here is going to use square units. So it'd be like square inches, square feet, square meters, stuff like that. Okay, so here, a lot of times we're going to be using 3.14 for pi. You don't ever want to hit the pi key on your calculator, because that might get you off by a couple of decimal places, and that might just be enough to kind of make it different than what you're looking for. So we're going to just type in 3.14 unless a problem says keep in terms of pi or use a fraction. We'll get to those in a minute. But for the most part, you're going to just type in 3.14. So we said step 1, right? We have to write the formula. Our formula is area equals pi r squared. Okay? Now, we need to look at the shape that they're giving us. 9 millimeters from the center to the edge, that's a radius measurement. So my radius is going to be 9. So step 2, I plug in my numbers. Area equals, pi is going to be 3.14. Radius is going to be 9 squared. Okay. Step 3, I solve with a label. So I would say, grab your calculator, right? Just do 3.14 times 9 squared. I get 254.34 square millimeters. So that's how you'll write your answer with the label. Down here, this one said keep in terms of pi, right? That means your answer should have pi in the answer. So we're not going to replace it with 3.14. We're just going to keep it like a pi. Okay, so number 1, area equals pi r squared. Always start with your formula. Here, your radius is 7. So r is going to be 7. So we'll say step 2, area equals, we're going to keep it pi, right? Because we have to keep it in terms of pi, times 7 squared. And then step 3, area is going to equal 7 squared is 49. 49 times pi, we're going to keep it pi. So it's just 49 pi square centimeters. That would be it. So you would keep pi in the answer when it says to do that. Down here, we're using 3.14. We're finding the semicircle, right? So the area of a semicircle is half the area of a regular circle. So for step 1, we're going to say area here is going to be pi r squared divided by 2, because it's half a circle, right? So this is a diameter of 8. Our formula doesn't use diameter, right? There's no d in there. So we're going to say if the diameter is 8, then that means that the radius would be 4 meters, right? So we're going to say step 2, area equals 3.14 times 4 squared over 2. All right, now step 3, we're going to work it out here. I like to just do the numerator first, figure out what that is, rewrite it, and then divide by 2. I think that way I kind of make less mistakes. That way I don't type something in wrong or whatever. So in the calculator, I'm typing in 3.14 times 4 square key. I get 50.24 over 2, right? When I divide by 2, it gives me 25.12 square meters. So that would be my answer with the label square meters for area. Down here, these are other pieces of circles, right? This one, if they tell you 90 degrees here, that's a quarter of a circle because all the way around the circle is 360 degrees. 360 divided by 90 is going to be like 1/4 of a circle, right? There's going to be like 4 pieces there. So I guess I could say 360 divided by 90 is going to be 4 because there are 4 of them within a circle. So I guess maybe even a better way to say this would be 90 is what part out of 360? It's 1/4 of a circle. So that means when I go to do this, right, my radius looks like it's 3. That's this right here. Okay, I'm going to say step 1, area equals pi r squared, but now I divide it by 4 because it's a fourth. Step 2, area equals 3.14, because it tells us up here to use 3.14 for pi, times, right, 3 squared, radius is 3, divided by 4. Okay, step 3, area equals, now I'm going to do 3.14 times 3 squared. I get 28.26 over 4. 28.26 over 4 turns into 7.065 square millimeters. So that's the area of that quarter of a circle, that little like wedge. Here's an even smaller wedge, right? This is 40 degrees. Let's figure this out first. 40 degrees out of 360 degrees, right? We gotta figure out like what percent of a circle is that, right? If you divide it like this, you'll get 0.111. It just goes forever. Maybe for this one, because that's going to be kind of tough to think about, maybe let's do it like this. 360 divided by 40, how many pieces would there be, right? If you do that, you're going to get that there's 9 of those that make up a circle. Okay, so this is like 1/9 of a circle. My radius is going to be 3. So step 1 will be area equals pi r squared divided by 9, because that's 1/9 of a circle. 2 is going to be, step 2 is 3.14 times 3 squared over 9. Okay, and then step 3, let's type this out. 3.14 times 3 squared. Again, that's 28.26 like we got in the last problem. But now I have to divide by 9, right? So I'm going to get area equals 3.14. That's just the square millimeter area. That's just what it would be. Okay, let's check out here. I think we just have a couple more to go, some word problems that are good to know how to do. So this one says the shadow of a hot air balloon is the same as the hot air balloon, is the same size as the hot air balloon. So it's basically saying like this width, this diameter is the same as the diameter of the actual balloon. That's what it's saying. Okay, what is the area of the circular shadow of the hot air balloon? Okay, so we're finding the area of the circle, right? If that's 56 feet in diameter up here, then it would be 56 feet in diameter down here. But I don't want the diameter, I want the radius. I want half of that. So 56 divided by 2 is going to be 28 feet, right? If I want the area of that shadow, I would do pi r squared. Step 2, I'd say 3.14 times 28 squared. Step 3, we just type it in now. 3.14 times 28 squared. We get 2,461.76 square feet. It's a pretty big shadow, right? That would make sense because a hot air balloon's pretty big. Okay, let's go down here. To make a pizza, you spread pizza sauce all over but a 1-inch area around the outside, right? That's the crust. So you don't put sauce all over the crust. What area of the dough is not covered with sauce? So we're trying to find the area of just the crust part, Like how much space does the crust take up? Okay, so if we think about this, there's really kind of two circles here on the pizza, right? There's the circle of the whole pizza. That's like the entire thing with the crust. Then there's the circle that has just the sauce on it. If I took the crust circle minus the sauce circle, I'm going to be left with just the ring on the outside, just the dough ring for the crust. That's what they're asking for. Like, how much area does that crust take up? So this will be my plan here, right? We're going to say, let's just say like large circle, maybe area of large circle minus area of the sauce circle, right? That's going to equal the area of the crust. Equals area of crust. That's our general plan. So if we know that the area of the whole thing, right, is 16 inches, the entire thing, well, we could say for the area of the large circle, that would just be pi r squared minus the pi r squared of the small circle. This is kind of like my step 1. My step 2 would be 3.14 times, if the whole diameter is 16, then half of that would be 8. So I'm saying 8 squared minus, I need to think about just the sauce circle. The key is there's a 1-inch area around the outside edge. So if this whole thing is 16, right, this would be 1 inch. This would be 1 inch. And this would have to be 14 inches, right? Because altogether, 1 plus 14 plus 1 is 16. So the sauce part has a diameter of 14. The outside crust is 1 inch, like, thick, right? So over here, we're going to say 3.14 for the sauce circle times 14 squared. So it's a little bit smaller of a circle, which that makes sense. Oh, wait, hold on. I made a mistake. Sorry, I just realized. If that's a 14 diameter, then the radius would be 7, right? Glad I caught that before I got too far. This would be 7, and 7 make 14. Okay, so this makes sense, right? Because bigger pizza, larger radius. The small sauce part, smaller radius. So if we just subtract these two things, figure out what they are and then subtract them, that should be the area of the crust. So this is 200.96, and over here we're going to get 153.86. So now I need to take those and subtract them, and I get 47.1 square inches. That's the area of the crust. Okay, let's check out one last one here. The area of a circle is 144 pi square inches. What is the circumference of the circle? Okay, all right. So the area is 144 pi. We have to find circumference. So area is this formula. Okay, if you remember, circumference is 2 pi r, right? Okay, so let's figure out here, we can kind of work backwards to figure out the radius, right? Let's start with our area formula. So step 1, area equals pi r squared. We know that the area is 144 pi, right? That's what they're telling us. So we could say in step 2, it's 144 pi, right, equals pi r squared over here. Okay, now we're going to keep going here. We have to solve for the radius. I can divide both sides by pi, right? If I'm trying to get the radius by itself, it's getting multiplied by pi. If I divide by pi, they're going to cancel out. Over here, they're going to cancel out also. So I kind of can just get rid of that. This is going to turn into 144 equals the radius squared. Now this is a little bit tricky. You're trying to think like, okay, if this is squared, now again, this is a little more advanced. This is kind of like getting into some 8th grade ideas. We're going to have to use a square root here, okay? That's the symbol for it. But we can just kind of think of this one. It's not too challenging. Some number squared is going to be 144. So some number times itself is 144. So I would just start somewhere and think about it, right? 10 squared, 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100, right? So you know it has to be bigger than that. So we can try 11 times 11. That's 121. So we're getting close. 12 times 12 would be 144. So we could say we're going to actually do this. We're going to square root. So we're kind of doing our first square roots ever here, right? The square root, and when you have a square and a square root, they're going to cancel each other out. You just have r left over. So I'll put that here. The square root of 144, you got to think again what two numbers multiplied, or what number multiplied by itself is 144. That's 12. So this is going to be, the radius is 12 inches. Now, did we solve this problem yet? Not quite. We're almost there. The question said, what's the circumference of the circle? So we have to we have to go down and do a circumference problem. C equals 2 pi r. Well, now we know that this will be like 2 times 3.14 times, we know the radius is 12. So now we can go down here and actually get the circumference, right? So I'll multiply all that together. I'll get 75.36 inches. That would be the circumference. So we had to find the radius. That was a pretty tricky one. That's definitely a challenge problem for sure. But I wanted to go through that so you guys could see that. All right, have a good day, guys. See you later.